Hi, everyone. As a faculty member, I wanted to talk a little bit about AI in higher education and some of the challenges and some strategies I've developed to deal with the AI. Now, what's interesting is I feel like we've been here before. I've been teaching since 2001. I taught for 19 years full-time. I have been a faculty member at a few different colleges. And it just feels like we're kind of circling back here. So in the 90s, we had people are going to be able to copy and paste, which is going to lead to more cheating. Back when I'm old enough to have remembered typing things on typewriters. In the 2000s, Google or Wikipedia, these are going to lead to more cheating. And today, of course, it's AI is going to lead to more cheating. But the reality is people have been cheating for a very long time. Even when I was in college, I remember hearing about, you go to see this guy at the parking lot at the diner and you get him to write a paper for you. You had the fraternities and sororities had like banks of old tests. So, these challenges have always existed. So I started teaching in 2001. I caught my first cheater in 2001. So these types of things happen. But one thing I did notice is that I had a lot of students who didn't hand in, especially early on teaching technology, things that were in Excel and Access specifically. And I guess what I kind of realized intuitively very early on is that generic assignments are very easy to cheat on. Give me, 500 words on, the French Revolution. Something like that is it's been done before. It's something where it would become very easy to go and find somebody else who has done that type of essay. And I found some common threads here that make things a little bit better for us as faculty members. First of all, things that are projects are harder. It might be easier to say, even going back before the AI, create an essay as the one I said before. But it becomes a little harder when you say, okay, well, take this spreadsheet and make changes because, that type of stuff may not be out there. I've written 4 books for Pearson and, the last 2 on Microsoft Access. And, really the only way people used to be able to cheat on that was to go out and find somebody else's solution files. And even at that point, a lot of the online systems would catch, this is flagged with somebody else's information in it, the metadata or whatever. So basically, the more work it is to cheat, the less cheating that you're going to have. I remember in college, one of my classmates was very frustrated. We took an art forum class, and one of the assignments was go to the Montclair Art Museum, which was a couple miles from the school, and write about 3 pieces of art that were of interest to you. And that's something that certainly could be, you might be able to find an essay like that online, but, the museum is always updating and changing displays, and it's very specific. So that was something that, when it comes to mind, stuff that maybe is not easy to cheat on, that comes to mind. So some of the strategies that I've gone through myself here. First of all, AI detection. And the reason I don't like AI detection is because there are false positives, and that leads to confrontation. I was a tenured faculty member, so when I was tenured, it would have been a little different than when I'm a part-time faculty member. As a part-time faculty member, you make a false accusation like that, and somebody can prove it, and it becomes very damaging. So it becomes very challenging to do that. Certainly there are times I had students who left the prompts in stuff that they submitted to me these last couple semesters, and that's a little easier. But AI detection software, that there are false positives, there are mistakes. The AI does goof in both directions. There are other things that we can do, such as AI gotchas. I'll give you an example that in a few minutes, but things that you can put in there to get the AI to maybe give you evidence of that. So, for example, this really catches the people who are being very lazy about the cheating, but But if they just copy and paste the prompt in, you can hide little pieces of information in there for the AI. So let's take a look at that real quick. So for example, here's a essay design. I just threw this together. This isn't a real one. But if you notice here, when I start selecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, you notice that there's a little something going on here. Now, if somebody copies this and they paste it, where'd that extra 0 come from? Very simply, what I did was I put an extra 0 in here, and you see I made the font size 1, and I changed it to white. So it's not visible, but it's there. And you could do things like that in your essays. Again, it kind of leads to students maybe, some students might catch it, some might feel a little betrayed by you doing things like that. But, this would certainly be, if I ask for a 500-word essay and I get a 5,000-word essay, I might notice something is up there. The other thing is, I have tested this prompt in a few different AI systems. Some, like Gemini, tends to be a little more, it'll reject stuff. It'll say, oh, you're supposed to be doing your own work. I can give you some guidance, but I'm not going to generate the essay. Versus ChatGPT. In this case, when I did this, it generated like 1,500 words on it because there wasn't enough stuff here. But you can imagine you do something like that, and that does hide a little gotcha in there. Another thing is understanding the technology quotas. So, for example, one assignment I gave out this semester is I taught a programming class. And there are two elements that I'm going to talk about here. But the first one is I put all of the information here into an image. And you might say, well, what's the big deal? You can copy an image just as easily as you can copy text. That's true, but the AI takes more processing power to do this. So if the students are copying in images, and the more complex the images, the more likely it is that ChatGPT or whatever tool they're using, assuming they're using the free version, is going to kick it back and say, oh, you've exceeded your quota, come back another time. So it may serve as a deterrent, rather than something that completely blocks them. But yeah, the image processing is definitely an issue like that. So you can go in and tell the students, okay, well, here's your assignment spec. Instead of putting it in a form where you can copy it, this is absolutely an image. And it didn't want to open there, but it is an image. So if we were to go to an AI tool and say, let's paste that in, you'll see that it's not immediately putting stuff together. It did. I didn't hit a quota today, but depending on what I was doing before this, I could certainly end up with that quota. But if I paste it in, I may be able to hit that quota. See, it is not. It's slightly different visual presentation as the exact same image. But yeah, you could run into issues where students do hit their quotas, depending on what else they're doing for their other classes and so on. So in this case, I haven't been using my ChatGPT much lately, so I didn't hit any quotas. But it could certainly lock them out for a while. Now, of course, then they could just go to a different tool or log in with a different account. But again, it can be something that slows people down a little bit. The other thing is redesigning the AI, or redesigning the assignment for the AI. So for example, the same assignment that we were looking at, you'll see that I gave them a project driver, and it has 2 files that they should be using. Now, if the students just copied that image, the ChatGPT didn't know, and it generated this code here to put in that functions file. And it's telling you to run driver.py. I had students generate their own versions of that driver file because they weren't connecting what was going on here. So this was definitely an assignment where we had students cheat and they left their prompts in. But designing it where they have to use multiple files, they have to kind of synthesize data from a number of sources. That was something that definitely worked for me. And, I could tell because I had less students hand in this assignment, even though it was at a similar level to other assignments. And as a matter of fact, that was the second assignment for Chapter 5 in this class. Going back to the old days, we used to require drafts for papers. Even if you just kind of give it a done or not done, you could certainly do that, where you ask students to give you a rough draft or, an early version of the paper. You could do that. Those things can help a little bit because then you could see, okay, well, they started with this and they should have a version that kind of builds on that. You could even have them do some of the work in class and kind of build it out that way. So they have to, engage with the material in some form or another, and you make it so they don't feel quite as overwhelmed and look for the shortcut. Other things, and going back to our earlier conversation about Excel and Access, is that, different output formats are harder for ChatGPT and the other AI tools to generate. So maybe saying, oh, generate this as a PowerPoint, it can do some of that. But if you want to have them generate an infographic or something like that, I taught a class and we had to generate something on Canva. So what I combined was I said, okay, go do a little research and then turn it into an infographic in Canva. Students did some very nice work, but it required research skills and then also technology skills to do that. So having them put them into some sort of format that the ChatGPT tool can't do. I mean, I'm old enough to remember getting out the poster board and developing materials for poster board even. Any sort of formats that ChatGPT can't generate, that can be an advantage to you as faculty members. And again, the goal really, I prefer the redesign method and really making it so we have the students use the AI in an effective way and we disincentivize the cheating. So I will talk about some of these and kind of do some of these videos at a later time. But for the moment, my takeaways from teaching a few semesters with this and being in the thick of it, I have 2 AI certifications, one from Microsoft and one from Oracle. And I've worked with a company that has really embraced AI in developing materials. I would say embrace the AI or at least get comfortable. If you're not going to give it a hug, give it a handshake. You want students to be prepared for the real world, and companies are using AI in a lot of business cases. So being able to go out there and, I like to say, wrangling the AI, getting the AI to do what you want is useful. Just like, 20 years ago, I said to colleagues, tell students, how to use Google, how to use Wikipedia. Same thing here. What are effective uses? And, I fully embraced it. I have another channel up on my video from a student perspective on how to use AI to be a study buddy. But I'll talk about how you can use this to help you troubleshoot, how you can use it in effective manners. But just pretending the AI doesn't exist, I think that's a short-sighted method that's going to lead to students using it anyway and maybe taking those shortcuts. But if you tell the students, you can use it, here are acceptable uses, here are non-acceptable uses, I think that will help. But if nothing else, hopefully some of these ideas spurred something in you. I'd like to put together some kind of more in-depth videos kind of showing some of the strategies that worked for me and some that didn't. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Take care.